It is no shock to you guys that I am a fan of Rippaverse comics. Yesterday, they had their first, what they call Rippaveal showcase, where they announced things that are coming next year. It was a 40-minute video. I was going to cover the entire video, but thankfully, they have broken the video down into separate sections. So they don't have the complete breakdown yet, but they've been putting out videos. So I'm going to cover some of these videos. One of the first videos I wanted to cover is a book I did not think I was going to be excited about. I did not understand how thrilling this short story was going to be, and that is Saoirse. Saoirse appeared in Ripazine #2. I liked Salvage. I actually like Salvage a lot more than I thought I was gonna like it. But it wasn't necessarily a book that I said to myself, okay, I need to see more. I want to see more. Don't get me wrong, I want to see more. But some characters you like, but you're just like, oh, this is a good character, but I'm not going out of my way. If a Salvage book were to be released, I would buy it because I think it would be intriguing. I definitely think it would be intriguing and add to the lore of Forest Park. But Saoirse, son, oh my goodness, let me tell you. Oh, that book, that story was so good that when I was done, I was like, I need more Caanan White art. There's some artists, and I said this before, that have an ability to almost like a movie pull you directly into this book as though it is a movie set. It's uncanny. I don't know how this is possible. I wonder to myself, how is he doing this? He managed to do it. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. So when the announcement was made that there's going to be a longer form Saoirse story, I was like, I am on it. So they announced what's going on with Saoirse during the Rippaveal showcase. So we are going to get into what's going on with Saoirse.
I'm not fond of Parlay and his gang, but his information is useful. I assume that he'll become a problem eventually, but he's not the big threat. The recent moves have little to do with Parlay's gang. Mondo may...
Can we stop and just respect the artwork of Caanan White? And look, I've said this before. I'll say it again. What Caanan White is bringing to the Rippaverse, what he's doing for the art direction of the company as a whole, you can definitely see the difference. His art is incredible. This is tier 1 comic book art, in my humble opinion. Of course, this is all subjective. In my opinion, for what I like visually, Caanan White's art, tier 1.
Is playing the long game. Parlay's territory has the largest school district in Forest Park. They're not looking for war. These scumbags want recruits. Young, naive boys
The way he
and
does
girls.
Proportions, lines,
I'm not under any delusions.
expressions.
I can't bring down an entire gang
that
by
scene right
myself.
there. You see how she was biting her lip? If you've never drawn a picture before, I've mentioned it before. I used to draw, wanted to be a comic book artist. I understand how complicated that is. Now, to a good artist, you might be watching this thinking, there's nothing complicated about that. Yes, because you can draw. But to be able to do that, to get the expression to be done in such a way that it draws you into the emotion of the picture, that's a different level. That is a different level.
But a little push here and a little shove there. Perhaps I can at least make
The
something
action was on
shake.
point in this Saoirse story
Turmoil
too.
can
It's
be
crazy.
good business, but the little ones deserve a shot. They prey on them to secure a future. Yesterday's youth are tomorrow's adults.
Do you see that line work? Do you see the detail in this picture, right? Like this is fire. This is fire. I sent a message to Caanan White, or I posted on X, and I was like, bro, I really want to see you draw some superheroes for the Rippaverse. Like his art, the pencil work, the ink work. I gotta look back. I can't remember who did the inks on Saoirse. Man, good job. Good job. This is incredible.
I've got to find a way to disrupt this.
Such a dope book. Such a dope book that I just did not expect to like as much as I did. Fun read. It like the fun back in reading.
So
comics.
Rippaveal number 2, unexpectedly, did better than Rippaveal number 1. I think a lot of that had to do, of course, with the team that was on.
And I think it had a lot to do with Saoirse. Look, the Rippaveal, great idea. Let me just say that, great idea. Giving people a look into some of the people that work for the Rippaverse, doing different interviews with some of the artists and the writers, and getting their perspectives on different things in a comic book space. It's like a no-brainer, right? Like if you're a comic book geek, wouldn't you love to pick the brain of the people drawing and writing the comic books? And in essence, that's what you get to do. Now, of course, they interview other people as well. I believe, I can't remember if it was in the first Rippaveal or the second one where they interviewed Gary from Nerdrotic. It's like the alternative geek space, getting into the mind of some of these people, what they like, what they don't like, what they think about the current geek space in general. I think it was a good idea.
That story wasn't just myself, because there were a lot of people that wanted sequential art coming from our art director, Caanan White. It was just highly anticipated.
Dude is a superstar. Look, when I tell you Caanan White is a rock star artist, this dude is a rock star. Like, there are people who draw, and then there are people who pull you in like this is a cinema. And I will tell you secretly, if you do not know, this is one of the things that pull me into Yaira #1 so much. Deborah Carita is a force to be reckoned with. You hear me? Her art is outstanding. Now, I had never heard of her before Eric July hired her to do some work for the Rippaverse. I mean, apparently she's worked in the comic book space for a while, but I just never seen her work. But man, her artwork, I was reading Yaira like I was watching a movie. It was crazy.
We got a glimpse at that character. So Rippaveal issue number 2 just absolutely took off. So while I'm trying to plan for Salvage's book, I had this other problem, which is a good problem to have, and that I had another character that a lot of people wanted. So I had to get started kind of kicking some ideas around. Now, I had most of the story already written as far as the layout, but now we're starting to do something in a different format, of course, than what we're doing with Salvage, because Salvage will be just more or less this a traditional sort of graphic novel.
I'm
this
looking
is going
forward
to
to that
be
as well.
An ongoing series with Saoirse #1. Now, as you've probably heard,
and that for me, look, I think the message was sent and heard loud and clear. People saw the artwork of Caanan White, and if you're anything like me, if you love comics and you're anything like me, and you read that book, you immediately said to yourself, oh, I gotta see more of this. Like I absolutely positively have got to see more of this dude's artwork.
Me already talk about, I nerd out about the detective stuff, but all detectives aren't equal.
I know I keep pausing, but these thoughts I'm having as I'm watching these videos. I'll tell you another thing that is maybe slightly missing from some comic book companies. I think Image does it a lot, just because Image is a bunch of different independent creators. Is not necessarily one cohesive universe. They have different styles of books. And I know Marvel and DC definitely have, some different things going on with some of their books. It's not all superhero books, but I guess maybe it's just that those things don't get pushed to the forefront, and that may just be it. But the fact that he's exploring some different things, like it's not just superheroes, it's detectives. And I hope that expands to other things. I never thought I would say this, right, as a comic book reader, but as I've gotten older, I've done a lot more research into the inception of comic books, how all of this started. Yo, I think I would now at this age, I would read like a drama comic book. Now, I'm not talking about like some soap opera, but a comic book that's just maybe leading up to something, but has a little more drama backdrop. You know what made me realize this? It's actually Absolute Spider Man that made me realize this, because many of those Absolute Spider Man books don't necessarily have a bunch of action, but I find myself reading these books and thinking, yo, I really enjoy this. Like there wasn't much action, but I actually enjoyed the storytelling element in this book.
Right? They have different things that motivate them. They approach things in a different style. And I really wanted to capture that esque of sort of that film fatale and being a private investigator.
He
Not
definitely did
necessarily
it.
just a spy of some sort, but a legitimate private investigator that's taking on some really, really crazy cases. And she's different from Salvage. So they're both private investigators. They have that LF certification, but they're not the same. And it's not just as simple as her utilizing her beauty to kind of navigate this world of Florist Park, really, in being an LF certified person. It's not just that, because with Salvage, he takes on certain types of things.
So even though they're doing the same job, they don't attack the same types of cases. And which, look, it's it's hard, I would imagine. I'm not a writer, but I would imagine it's hard for a writer to have two characters in the same scope, the same vein, but somehow show a differentiation between those characters. And I definitely, when I read Salvage and when I read Saoirse, complete different emotions and complete different take reading both of those books.
And if you've read the book, you know with Rippaveal issue number 2, he doesn't just take on any sort of gig. There's special types of gigs that he has to deal with. You know, Saoirse, she's left with these very, very dangerous gigs, and she's getting involved in
this panel right here. Look, man, when I was reading this book and I saw this panel, the lines, the fluid motion, the action. Caanan White is a master at this. This dude, this is a master class of how to do a comic book panel to panel. Not everybody's going to do it the same way as him, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, this dude has the sauce. Some artists have the sauce and some don't. Caanan White absolutely positively has the sauce.
this story with Mondo Mation, and really can't wait for people to see how that's going to play out. Kanan's artwork on this is amazing. My good friend and of course our concept artist and Marcos, he helped design the character. Kanan had just a little bit of
Yo, I actually can't wait for Marcos to work on some kind of book of his own, because like I've seen some of Marcos's work and his work is really good. So I can't wait to see, because I imagine at some point Marcos is gonna have, a full, running title at the Rippaverse. Maybe not ongoing, but maybe every now and again he, dips and dabbles and draws something. I'm actually looking forward to that.
input there as well, and that's his gal. So when I approached him with, hey, this thing blew up, we got to do something longer form, like before I could even finish my sentence, he was ready.
People who are working at this company are excited about comic books, and you can tell in the finished result. I like that.
to get some more work done. So I'm really stoked to be working with him. I think we kind of have this dynamic duo, this tandem working together on projects like this. And in Saoirse, I think for years to come, this is going to be a character that a lot of people love, a lot of people gravitate towards. And yeah, they just going to thoroughly enjoy it. It is a fun story, but it is a story that's meant to sort of make you think. She's navigating Flores Park. Yes, an affluent city, but there's different sides of it. You got the Upper East that we've talked about, Upper West. Flores Park is a big city state. So there's a lot of things that.
Yo, and I cannot wait. The way he's flushing out Flores Park with all of these different things, and that's what I'm saying about the way they're doing this. All of these different things, the way he flushed out the Flores Park and Isom, and the way he's flushing it out with Saoirse and Salvage and some of the other things he flushed out with the Horsemen. And now, so they announced so much. And at Rippaveal, there's a book they're releasing where they're going to cover the war that went on in the Rippaverse that made Texas its own country. Yo, man. This, like, I'm genuinely excited. This is not false excitement. I'm not faking a funk. I'm genuinely excited about all of this. This is dope.
We get to entertain in that sort of underground and the underworld, and what she's operating. It's such a fun thing to do, fun story to tell. And of course, Kanan just has a way of really adapting the story and capturing the essence of who I wanted Saoirse to be. And I just can't wait for you guys to read this ongoing series, starting, of course, with Saoirse #1, which will be dropping in 2025.
Yo, man, this is, you might not be excited. You may not like the Rippaverse. It may not be your cup of tea. But for me, things like this excite me about comic books. It gets me into that realm where I'm like, yo, this is what I've been looking forward to. Somebody that just brings that heat consistently. The Rippaverse, for me, consistently delivers. I'm stoked.